Welcome back to Red Brook Farm in Scarborough, Maine. December 28th, 2008. So right around 50 degrees today. Snow on the ground, as you can see. Last video we had was about 18 inches of snow on the ground. Now it's kind of melted away. It's December 28th. We're just coming down to see how the girls are doing. And by girls, I mean that specifically, because typically all the males got kicked out of the hive late fall because they can't feed themselves or clean themselves, so the female worker bees kick them out. So hopefully we got about 25 or 30,000 worker bees and one queen in each of the hives. These hives are 2 deep. There's 2 sets of there's 20 frames in each of these hives, 10 on top of 10, and in the top 10 we're looking for about 70 pounds of honey to overwinter on here, because they cluster in the winter. A day like this, you'll start to see as I close in, you'll start to see them out flying around. They're doing their bathroom flight, so to speak. They won't defecate in the hive, so they come outside to do it. And they fly around. A day like this, they're flying around. Some of them are naturally getting old, and what they'll do is they'll fly out, and as you can see, if I kind of come in here, you'll see them in the snow. These are the girls that have come out to fly and taken their last flight. And then I've been scraping. What they do is they bring the dead bees out to the front of the hive. This hive hasn't quite woken up yet. There has been some activity, but it's not as active as a couple of these other hives are. And what you'll see is, as I said, it's around noontime, a little afternoon, and the sun's just starting to peek out, and we're going to see some more activity. But you see quite a bit of activity here at the front door of this hive. This is our winter mode. What we've got is an entrance. It's about 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 wide on one side. They're all kind of coming out to go to the bathroom, basically, spread their wings a bit. They typically cluster in the hive for the winter, and then they're moving around in a cluster. And what you've got is, as I said earlier, you've got 10 frames here and 10 frames here, and they're typically clustered in the upper center of these frames in hopefully a watermelon size cluster. A basketball cluster at this early would be tricky. I hope they're still watermelon size, and by size I mean what happens is they end up naturally dying over the winter. A percentage of maybe 25% of them will die over the winter, and what you end up with is hopefully at least a basketball size cluster come springtime, so they can start quickly in the spring to raise the brood and forage and gather nectar and pollen. You can see the sun just starting to peek out here now. It's kind of a barren landscape this time of year. Just in the 10 minutes that I've been down here, there's quite a bit of activity now. They're outside flying around. If you can see on the snow, there's lots of them on the snow. They take a fly, and it's really their last flight. They don't make it back into the hive. It's not too cold for them. This 40s and 50s, this 50-degree day, they're fine. They're fine, warm-blooded in the 50-degree range. If I go zoom in, you can start to see some of the dead bees in the entrance to the hive here. And what they've done is they've brought the dead bees that have died, fallen off the cluster. They bring them out to the front door. They're very, very good housekeepers, and they'll take that with them. They'll clean out the front door. What you'll see here on this one is several of the bees that have died, and what they've been doing is a few of them have been on undertaker duty, and they've been bringing them out to the front. Natural expiration going on here in the wintertime. Come down here and you start to see more activity. They're flying all around me. They're really not interested in me at all. As long as I don't play with the entrance to their hive and bang around on them. I haven't smoked them. I have no bee protection on whatsoever, and You can see the yellow dots. On this one you can see the little yellow brown specks. That's the excrement from the bee, and they come out, they excrete, and they go back in. And if you look carefully in the snow here, you can see all kinds of yellow. In this right here, here's some yellow, and to the naked eye I just see all these yellow specks all around, and what they are is the excrement from the bees. So here we are at the end of December in Scarborough, Maine, on a 50-degree day. The bees like this day. It's to give them a chance to break their cluster. Two things: they get to break their cluster inside, clean out the hive, come out, defecate, and also move the cluster around inside a little bit to stay on the honey. Because when you get in here, what you've got, as I said, there's 10 frames here and there's 10 frames down here, and they're clustered, and they need to move around inside that cluster. That that basketball watermelon sized cluster wants to move around inside to consume the honey and the pollen that they have stored in the frames inside the hive. So with that, another installment, and things are going well so far here in Red Brook Farm in Scarborough, Maine, as we look down the line. And check us out a little later for another installment.